We are marching down to Easter here on the Masculine Journey, so I hope you grabbed your gear. Because we never want you to be gearless in Seattle. We're just saying, never, ever want to take off on the Masculine Journey without gear. But, we are continuing a little bit of what we did last week. And it is in Masculine Journey tradition. The person that created the topic is not here with us, and we wouldn't mention any names, but Sam. So we're going to specialize on him in the second part of the after hour show. But you have to hear the hour show to really get that joke.
And he was part of the inspiration.
Oh, he definitely was. So, I was looking up for somebody that would be ready to explain the topic today. And so, Danny, might that be you?
I am.
I am.
We're continuing this week. We talked last week about some of the I am statements of Christ, and we continue in that this week. And the idea comes from in following Sam's footsteps, but not all the way to after hours, but talk about. He said it come from a talk that you guys were at a boot camp that Darren and the church hosted, or
Right. Todd Clark did the talk on Fathered by God. Right?
Yeah, so, and he mentioned some of these, and Sam kind of took off with the topic, and so we've selected different ones and got clips and stories to tell and an adventure to live. So,
Right. So in the book of John, there are several of the I am statements, 7 of them, from what some way some people count them, and so we did.
You made it 8 last week, but the perfect
I never
number.
heard anybody else's count, right?
Yeah.
The perfect number. So this week we have, I know that the one I dealt with was that I am the vine, you are the branches, right?
Mhm.
And then a lot of you guys did I am the way, the truth, the life, and then you got a different one, right, Jim?
No, I'm the way, the truth, and the life.
The first one on the is I am resurrection and the life.
Yeah, I kind of combined the two.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
A combo platter.
yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah. With French fries.
I am.
So speaking of the combo platter, then Danny, why don't you shut it up?
The what now?
Since you're on the Danny cam and everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube, wherever they are,
I think he set you up.
I set you up to do your clip.
Oh, my first is first.
Oh no, I was actually doing Jim.
Yeah. I can see how you would confuse this.
Yeah, we did look so much alike.
Yeah, about the same height. and everything.
Both good looking, both brilliant. Yeah. Oh, but they can see that now. Okay, my clip, and it is the way, the truth, and the life is about following Jesus, but in this case, Jesus is represented by Gandalf. The Fellowship of the Ring is about to set off, simply with blessings. And Frodo, who is the key figure, is not the leader. He needs to be led. And this is, you're not the key leader either.
No.
They do see you. Raise your hand. I forgot. We got a camera now. Yeah, I'll try not to mess with my nose.
Okay.
And
That's not the way, Jim.
I like radio.
It was the truth,
I am trying to be truthful.
Stick with the way, Jim.
But this is Gandalf's guidance for the entire group. And you'll hear some crows in the middle, so I'm not going to simulate them.
So yeah, if you haven't seen The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is this really old, kind of sage-looking character with a long white beard. You've probably seen pictures.
Yes.
Right, and he's kind of the leader of this group. And Frodo is what they call a hobbit, which is kind of like,
They're resilient little people.
resilient little people that seem insignificant but end up being tremendously significant. Not unlike us, right?
Gandalf is older than me.
Yeah, and it's
Gandalf is older than me, which makes him very special.
yeah, very, very, very. So, you want us to play it?
Let her rip. And throughout this series of scenes that's patched together, as you probably figured out, there are several times when they needed Gandalf to both tell Gimli that that's not the best way to go. That was the way they ended up going. But he's directing the path for the entire group. And it takes a lot of twists and turns. That this is just the beginning. And if you haven't seen it, shame on you, because it's written from a perspective of God's mission in a fantasy setting, which will appeal to lots of folks. But Gimli is one of my favorite characters in there. And he is a dwarf, and he wants to go the way that's familiar to him, which is the dwarven mines. And that gets shot down. But ultimately, that was the way they had to go, because the other better routes were tragedies in the making. And they were led to take the best path, even though even Gandalf did not think that the way they went was the way they were going to go. But if we're following God, we rarely end up going the way we expect to go.
So when you think about Jesus is essentially the I am the way in your own life. So is there a path like that that you could relate to?
Well, we don't have time for me to go
We have time.
through my different careers.
That's true.
That
That would be a Pillars series.
But that would be the rest of the time till Jesus returns, I think. But I have taken many different paths, and in retrospect, lots of things I saw as failures were really necessary for the ultimate journey.
So can you take us into one of those?
One of those, okay. Getting this took place in Morganton.
Not Mordor, but Morganton.
Morganton. Three decades ago, and I was a Boy Scout executive, and I loved it. And they wanted me to move, and I was raising my kids there. I said, okay, I'm not going to move. And I ended up playing around with computers for a while, but ultimately something I'd never considered was offered to me by a wonderful and even better named pastor named Bob Shepard. And Bob said, well, you ought to think about going to this new divinity school down at, I'll start saying Mars Hill. Where's my brain? Gardner Webb. And I said, well, that's not really something I never considered. So I'm just going to take a course, see what happens. And a few years later, more than most people take, I had a master's of divinity as a Southern Baptist, which when I was 16, I swore I'd never step foot in another Southern Baptist church. So God had other plans, and he steered me well.
So was Gardner Webb Divinity School closer to Mordor, or was
It was for me, it was about a 45-minute drive. For normal people, maybe an hour.
And what kind of divinity did you learn to make there?
You've heard of Andy Devine, I'm Jim Devine.
But nonetheless, it was an interesting turn, right? Because you had your heart set on the Boy Scouts, and God had something that opened up your
And
heart.
before that, my heart was set on chemistry and then geology.
But at the end of the day, just for me personally, because I've known you for a lot of years, had that not happened, I never would have met you.
That's true.
And that would have been, there'd been a lot of steelhead trout that would have appreciated that. However it worked. But it's really cool to listen to and think about, like, man, my good friend wouldn't be my good friend if it hadn't been for, Jesus being the way in so many different times and in a path that, that we really didn't, anticipate picking up, right?
everybody that went to high school with me would, and some have, laughed when they heard I'd gotten into ministry. That was not an expectation for anybody, including me. But God is in control, and if you don't recognize it, you will.
So, since you mentioned that you're older than Gandalf, and
No, reverse. He's the older one,
by how much?
not enough.
He was a senior when Harold was a freshman.
So Harold, you two have had some interesting paths, right? And I, when I think about how, your way, was turned from what you thought.
Oh, yeah, several things. As a matter of fact, I was thinking just a few minutes ago that probably most of us in this room didn't realize that we were going to be here, but we ended up here. Yeah, I guess the first change that happened was for several years, my idea of my life was going to be as a fighter pilot in the Navy. And I did pass the written exam for AOC.
And you weren't too tall. I mean,
No.
that's clear.
No, I could easily fit in the cockpit. The
But
smallest,
can you see over the?
smallest plane they had would work for me. But as it turned out, I met my sweetheart on a blind date that her brother set up, and there went my future as a pilot. She told me she couldn't be married to a pilot because of her nerves.
Well,
So
we got to
that
go
was-
to a break, but we wanted you to go to masculinejourney.org. Register for the boot camp coming up April 3rd. We'll be right back.
Danny Cam.
Danny, you bumped it.
I did. That was Tim McGraw and Live Like You Were Dying. It's a song about a conversation he had with a guy who's had a bad diagnosis, and he asked him, what did you do when you heard the news? And that's the chorus is, had to cut out he went skydiving. He did go skydiving before he went Rocky Mountain climbing, but we ain't got so much room for adventure around here. But the song speaks to, the way, the truth, and the life. And so, if you do live like you're dying, because there are things far more important than what you think they are. And all of a sudden you get a traumatic diagnosis or a life event happens and you think your life is over, but makes you think a little different. And the positive way to think about it is forgive a little deeper and live a little bit. So
we left our hero Harold. He was going to be a fighter pilot in those Sopwith Camels. I don't know if you remember. Going to take on the Red Baron and things like that, I suppose. But we never did clarify when you were going to be a fighter pilot, Harold. What kind of plane would that have been?
Well, I guess it would have been the Sopwith Camel. No, that's another
86.
place where, one of the things where God intervened in my life in a very positive way My sweetheart and I will be celebrating our 60th wedding anniversary on June the 6th of this year. And
66.
had I made it through all the training and actually become a pilot, I likely would have been shot down over Vietnam. The SAMs really took a toll on the pilots over there. So, God directed me in a different direction. And instead of flying jets off of a carrier, I coded programs for a computer, which was not the same, but safer. But there's a lot of changes that I think God has directed. My first job after graduation was there in my hometown with a company I'd worked with during the summers. And I thought, I was a perfect fit. I knew the business, et cetera. And it didn't really work out. There were some promises that had been made that weren't being fulfilled. And so I left and went to Columbus, Mississippi with a company there. And after 8 years, that necessitated a change. And that's how I ended up in Moxville. Interestingly enough, both of those first two companies no longer exist.
And to quote a T-shirt of my good friend, where the heck is Moxville?
Moxville is the center of the universe. Ask anyone in Davie County and they'll let you know. The only place to live is Davie County, North Carolina.
There you go. It is the county seat of Davie County. And for those who don't know, it's between Statesville and Winston-Salem. And so, Danny, you have our next clip on the hit parade. And you were going where no man has gone before.
Yeah. This comes from Star Trek Next Generation, and the interchanges between Lieutenant Worf, who's a Klingon, and Commander Riker, who's basically the first mate of the ship. And they're good friends, and Worf has had a traumatic life experience. His spine has been messed up in an accident, and they're pretty much telling him he's not going to be able to walk. And for a Klingon to die an invalid is an insult and no honor. And so there's a ritual that they perform, suicide ritual. And he's asked Commander Riker to assist him in it. And Riker basically is having no part in it. And the interchange between them, they're talking a lot about life and death. And, speaking to, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and the resurrection and the life is the two that kind of stuck out to me. But listening to them talk about the differences between choosing death and choosing life. So we can play it. We'll talk about it afterwards. I love the interchange about it, and Worf has obviously chosen death, and so often in my own life, I realized, over the past few weeks that I had chosen death many times, not consciously going to kill myself. Maybe once there was that choice, but the choosing death in the way I act, other than the way God would have me act, choosing hatred over love, choosing, to distance myself or to make choices that bring death rather than life. And Jesus tells us, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to live is to live Jesus' way. And it's not a set of rules or thing. It's a set of guardrails to keep you out of the bushes and hedges, basically. And so that's been kind of my take on this topic, so to speak. But it's been so often to come to those events, and because we've all been there, that some life changing event hits and depression sets in, the whole 9 yards, and you just end up going down a path that leads to death, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually did a funeral service or celebration of life on Saturday for a group that may not be the typical church-going group, and I couldn't help but notice a sign that they had in their house that said, "Happiness is not the destination, it's the journey." And as I reflected on that statement, I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because it really is saying something that I think this passage is saying, that Jesus isn't the destination of this, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? He is the journey.
He is the journey, yes.
And so it's interesting that, in so many ways, in his presence is fullness of joy, right? So it's interesting that the accuracy of that would be that, happiness is the journey. The journey is that to some extent, but the destination, Andy, that's another whole thing, right?
You're talking about the Father?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus did say in John 14:6, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. But no one, we leave this out a lot of times, but no one comes to the Father but by me. And it's such a core message to the masculine journey, everything. It's been phenomenal to me to really find God as Father and to realize that Jesus constantly said it. I've been reading in the book of John. He's constantly saying, it's not about me, it's about the Father. I'm here to bring you to the Father. But in doing that, you see that there's joy. He also references himself. He says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. We act as one. So you're really getting a 2-for-1, 3-for-1, actually, when you talk about the Holy Spirit too. But
Buffet.
yeah, buffet. Yeah, you get everything that
Not
you're
the combo plate, but the complete buffet.
everything that
Or a
you were
smorgasbord.
created for to receive, right? But anyway, yeah, that's definitely the Father is the destination, but Jesus clearly points that out.
Yeah, and I know in your life, certainly, Danny, that's been one of the neater things I've seen just kind of unfold in the last couple 3 years. And so speak to that a minute, because that's what comes at the end of that verse.
What's that, to the Father?
Right.
Oh yeah, it is amazing how that is where Jesus is taking you, is to be ultimately fathered by God. And that's kind of the journey that hit on that I met you guys. We were reading the book by John Eldridge, Fathered by God, and there's so much that speaks to the boyhood and that kind of thing. And I've got to live a lot of that over the past 3 or 4 years, and God's done so much healing and like Saturday was an amazing thing, going up fly fishing in the river in waders, almost a near-death experience if I fell down, but never done that before, never probably would have done that, but God father me in this, show me, and to be out in his wilderness in all wonder, knowing that you're in his presence because he's there, and just having fun, and he even let me catch a brown trout. So
Right, and it's fascinating to me that it's also connected to the idea of life, right? That when you decide, hey, I'm going to let God father me in this, rather than just not go fly fishing, even though I wanted to my whole life, right? I'm going to trust the Father, and Jesus and the Holy Spirit kind of point you in that direction, and away you go. You have this information to experience a part of life you otherwise never would have, right?
Yeah, and along the journey, God puts people in your life, and I sent some folks some messages today, but He puts people in your life to follow you along the way, and to speak into your life, and what a decorated life it becomes. That the joy of meeting folks and seeing Jesus from their eyes, and just living life to its fullest at times.
So beautiful. Wow. So if you've attended a boot camp, you have an amazing opportunity right in front of you in just a couple of weeks. We have an advanced boot camp, and that's coming up April 3rd through the 7th. So if you go to masculinejourneyradio.org, that's masculinejourneyradio.org, go register for that or join us at some other event. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. All right. You guys clear out. Bring up the drink second strain. Bring up the jackass.
You were fighting
You
words.
needed to be here earlier.
Yeah, he's here for now.
Believe me, believe me.
Our Harold Grant, assume the position. You haven't spoken yet, Kenny, so you're still in the jackass position. You haven't
You can
spoken
move
yet.
over to this
Hey,
one.
remember?
Sit next to
We're good. That's not a bad word. Hey, Rodney, you haven't spoken yet either. So
Yeah, I did.
You a talker.
Not enough.
I'm a driver.
I promise my wife what to say.
I promised Max.
it's not a bad word.
I promised I wouldn't say nothing.
It's a great word.
Really don't.
It's a very descriptive.
Well, it's one that's kept me off
All
my,
right,
my
you get
clip
him-
off the
Did you
radio.
get him off his jackass?
I really don't have nothing. I really don't.
You're perfect. Oh, this is
So how you
perfect.
doing? You know what? You didn't know you said something. You're trying to do.
And trying to maintain my only being here half the year. I'm gonna be here for half the show.
Yeah.
I got a text.
Oh, yeah.
Like
You know,
earlier,
you know,
that I didn't respond to.
Let me ask you this question. Is it a two-story home? Single,
It's not a home. It's like a condo.
four stairs and
All right.
something.
Are you leaving
I am.
for good?
No, just for the,
Okay.
I had a
We
text
got
that
a house there.
Oh,
I need to respond to.
All right. Well, it was great to see you for whatever time we
Good
got.
to be seen for however long. Love you guys. See you next week. I'm gonna go for like 2.5.
2 weeks in a row.
Maybe 3.5.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean,
I got a few months I can't get rid of. That's enough.
I've been looking for the right buyer because I don't want to sell it.
So, very humiliating, but my memory is what it is. I've forgotten your name.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
It's Terry. Yeah.
It's what?
Terry. 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 I
Terry.
think that was the one I told you last week.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We were talking about you.
It was great.
Oh,
Grant. Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about you earlier, Terry, but you didn't listen to us either.
he had something else on his mind.
How could I have forgotten that? But I did.
No, you did.
Completely, not even in my anywhere. And so you're Grant,
Yeah.
you're Art.
Yes, sir.
Wherefore, what have you got on your neck? For goodness sake.
It's my dog.
They call him.
It's your
Yeah,
dog.
his dog
They call him.
I got a beeper on
They
my
call
dog.
No, Bella put a
On my
Bella
dog.
put a shock collar on him. So she bring him back to the house.
He brings the food down
Looks
here.
like one you would use for a honeycomb.
I would love to try.
You did.
Hey, Andy, see my ball.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
The puppies are
really
hungry.
it's real good. I just got a regular kind. Not the cheapest.
So what do you do with it?
I beat my dog. I beat ringing. It's a shot collar, but
Oh,
I
so
took
they
the
don't call
batteries
you,
out,
you call
so I
them.
don't
I
shot,
got
and I hit that button that says tone, and it goes beep, and they know to stop what they're doing and come to me.
Did they do it?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be doggone.
I did dog on.
Get the shock.
Pun intended.
Shocking.
Never seen Gary give him a shock.
Huh?
Never seen Gary and give him
Yeah.
a blast.
Yeah. Well, Max, sometimes I have the electrodes on. He's a little bit hard headed. Bella, just ring the bell.
I don't want to know that other.
Perfect.
So you needed gear at the
Ring my
studio.
bell.
I just forgot to take it on. I wear it all the time. I wear
He's
it
on
all
call.
the time. I mean, it's, yeah.
He's on call.
The dog eat dog world.
So decisions. Should I put Blow Those Teeth first? 'Cause
Yeah. Laugh track.
it is a laugh track. So it's true.
So the top of the ones we're talking about this
We
week.
can
are,
share.
I am the resurrection and
Yeah, there's
life.
one short.
I am the way, the truth, and the
So I
life.
let last time.
Oh,
So all from John. So
Are we short of headphones?
Here you go.
Yeah,
like when you enter
I'm actually learning.
Oh, yeah, because
This is how we do it.
how we roll.
could you guys hear it all through the control room monitor?
Yeah, touch. Yeah, some of it.
Okay.
What, here?
Oh, good. So
No,
they could hear the sound, the clicks.
Yeah, it's all up to you, Terry.
Terry. Terry is his name.
This is the Terry Show.
Not tonight.
Welcome to Terry
Not
Live.
tonight.
Next week.
Maybe we got. Pencil you in.
Really?
It can happen. Anything can happen.
Anything could happen. If you feel froggy, grab the mic.
Right.
We'll make it happen. We will.
We will.
spirit.
To me, that's half the fun. If God is present, then he will tweak you and say, speak up, Holmes.
Absolutely.
I got something for you.
Hey, you donkey.
Yeah,
Speak up.
donkey,
Nay.
I have to wait for the buzz.
a jack donkey.
Yeah, you have to be here for
Yeah,
that.
you
Yeah.
better buckle up over there.
Well, it's coming.
It's
Don't
coming.
worry.
Yeah.
Don't
Stay
worry.
tuned.
Because I am perfectly comfortable using the word jackass.
Shoot, I'm glad because I would have been reprimanded by the other
King
host.
James could use it. I
The
could
host to
use
be
it.
named to be named later.
If King James can use it, I can use it.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
telling you,
We actually had,
He used
Dad
it.
had a,
numerous times.
Dad had a mini mule, a miniature mule that we had for several years. He was white and he was not friendly.
What
The difference between a
purpose?
mule and a donkey. He was not.
What
friendly.
purpose does he serve?
He ate a lot.
He got rid of food.
He served as a deterrent for people fishing in the pond for a while because he would steal stuff out of their trucks. He stole a lady's pocketbook.
He was a hay processor, created
Yeah,
plenty of
they moved him over,
fertilizer production.
and we moved him over to the cattle farm over there. Dad thought he'd be, a good fit over there. He got fired from the only job he ever had because he was biting the cows on him. But
Later on, he became great in glue production.
yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
He got promoted.
it was a sticky situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Kenny, are you warmed up, man? You're ready?
You ready?
Now, what we want you to talk about this time, not theology. You're not allowed.
No theology.
No theology. What we want to hear about is your story.
No story.
Your story. Like your testimony. Like, where did God show up as divine for you, or as the truth, or as the life, or as the resurrection? Which I happen to know your story enough to know you pretty much are a resurrection story.
Yes, I am.
We all are in our own,
Mhm.
you know,
Only once, probably, spiritually and physically.
right. And so I just felt like it's a real opportunity to see from my perspective, every jackass has to be loosed.
Broken, yeah, trays.
Am I right? It
Yeah.
has to be taken to Jesus. It's the idea, right?
Yeah.
And in my case, he needed to sit on me on more than one occasion.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying. I think we're about the tone right now. I think that's what, 6 seconds slow. Yeah, put those on so you'll know when the
Pretty fast.
3 seconds fast. You got the Princess Leia look going on.
Oh,
Princess Leia.
Oh,
got a little bit.
no. I feel a little princessy.
Oh, yes, it does. It starts here, and we are after hours. We're so grateful that you have chosen to listen to this podcast. And I think you'll find it
Enlightening.
That's going to be enlightening. It's going to be a lot of things. It could be a little entertaining. It could happen, Andy.
Good.
But we are carrying on Sam's topic, and in Masculine Journey tradition, he's not here to share his topic. And so we thought we'd kind of do this clip in honor of Sam and this upcoming discussion. As you think about Sam, just think about the topic that we're getting into. But pretty much, what's the topic?
So it's the I am statements. We did this continuation of last week's show, and I think we covered, I can't even remember what they were, but I know what this week's show is. We're talking about I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and I am the vine. So those scriptures from John 14, 15, 16, I think, or 14 and 15.
And so as I was considering this, I am the vine, and the fact that we're all connected together in a very beautiful, amazing way, this being, upcoming Palm Sunday for those of you listening, it's tomorrow. And, Palm Sunday is a picture that obviously is just beyond belief how God started to paint this idea of a donkey ride, which, King James, rightly calls an ass. Okay. And so he started with, Isaac getting his journey, right, on the donkey. And then later on, he would talk about Judah being a donkey. And it goes on to, like, throughout the Bible, that there were 40 judges in the book of Acts. In one group, they're all
Book of Judges.
The book of Judges, right? Sorry, not the book of Acts. Well, there's Acts of the Judges. I'm glad you got me straight on that. But anyway, it's all leading up to Zechariah 9, where it says, "Rejoice, O greatly, daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly, and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt of the foal of an ass." Now, in regular old farmer technology in good old Central America, that would be a jackass. Because the reason it is because you got Jenny asses, those are females, and a colt of an ass would be a jackass, which is so descriptive in so many ways, especially when you consider Robbie Gilmore. Okay. But in the case of Sam Maine, you might go there too. The reason is that, and the significance of this passage, in so many ways, if you think about it, that Jesus has told his disciples now, if you remember the book of Matthew, chapter 21, he sends the two disciples to go get these donkeys or asses, as the case may be. And he tells them, hey, there's this Lexus down the way, and the keys are in it, and you just go over there and steal it. And don't worry if they say anything about it, just tell them the Lord has need of it. Now, if you're a disciple in that day, this is a challenging little situation here, because you get, end up stoned, etc., for stealing a man's, ride.
Do not do it.
Yeah, this isn't good, man. And so it's a pretty remarkable thing that they go to do. And then the real challenging
Stealing his
thing,
Mustang, right?
if you know about donkeys, here's the deal. A female donkey is called a jenny, and they're pretty easy to deal with. but a young male donkey, which when they say that is a colt, that's a foal of an ass, we're talking about a young male donkey, probably in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 years old, because you couldn't ride a baby donkey. So that donkey is already extremely sexually active. Okay. It is. And the problem, they will tell you, do not have one of these jackasses around your kids, because if they smell anything in the air, and they can smell, from what I understand, a female donkey from some 150 miles, okay, and you're thinking about it riding around Jerusalem, there's probably 1 or 2 of those around. And they're just uncontrollable, because they think that you are the opposition, and they're perfectly capable of stomping a wolf, and so they will stomp you. So you get the picture that this donkey is thinking about one thing and one thing only, which is how it reminds me of me.
I am.
Right? He's thinking about himself, right? And he's thinking about his own situation, which is obviously, if we're not in Christ, then we're acting essentially a jackass, right? Out of control and whatever. So why is this significant? What happens here is Jesus sends the disciple to bring the jackass to himself. And so we as disciples, and we know we got to tie a rope around our friend, and we got to say, here we go. We're going to go to Jesus. I mean, this is the actual solution, and here's what needs to happen. And so as I was thinking through this whole situation of really, and then they put the clothes down on him, which is a picture of really laying down your own treachery, which you'll see in the book of Kings when they go to make Jehu king, they lay their clothes down, and it's the same kind of deal. And so they're literally laying down this treachery on top of this jackass, and then the only reason that Jesus can ride it is because he is nothing but peace, you see? And the reason why all those judges in Israel in the book of Judges could ride 40 different colts of an ass, which means 40 jackasses. The only kind of person that could ride something like that was a donkey whisperer, or somebody who had complete peace about them, right? This is it's serious thing.
Maybe the King of Kings and Lord.
Right, exactly. And so you can see that this was the king coming. But who was he coming to? And the bottom line is he was coming to a group of jackasses, okay? And so when you listen to this clip, it's from Animal House, you can't help but note that, they can be tied together. And somebody will lead them if they, speak their language. So here you go. It's perfect, right, Andy? The reason again, I am the vine, you are the branches, right? And it's pretty obvious that we need a whole lot of trimming.
Yeah.
I mean, we really do. And, the beautiful part of that picture is is if we're united in him and you begin to, gather in a group of brothers, you can't help but know that, when Sam starts throwing a mouse,
Or a stapler.
or a stapler, as the case may be, right? It's a pretty good thing. Or if I throw a fit, and I've been known to, that I've got people that love me in spite of the fact that they know that I can certainly be a jackass, right? I mean, and Jesus knows that, and that's why he wants those donkeys untied so that they can be free to join what the vine, right? And so, I've assembled this particular team here now. In front of me, I have.
On the
Yeah,
spot.
on the spot, I
On
have
the spot.
Kenny.
Yes.
So Kenny, when you hear all that, which I know it's a little unusual, you probably have never heard that before, but maybe you have. I don't know.
Well, you kind of put it together way. How do we really see ourselves? When we started this, when we see Jesus, do we really see our own brokenness,
Right.
the things that hit us in life? And I look back and I think God, he knocked me off my high horse. You think you got it all together, you got the security and all that, and God said, no, you don't. Until he is.
And so tell us the story.
The story, I was winterizing a building, and I took a dive head first on concrete, not by purpose. It's just one of those, step back to take a better angle at it and fell and about killed myself. They had to reattach the left arm, breaks here, fractured teeth, but I just messed up, and I know I was on the line as far as at that point. They say the light. I felt the peace because I had been going to church, but I knew I was in his hands. So there was a peace there.
So what you're saying is prior to your dive,
Yeah.
you probably weren't as close
No,
as he might have liked.
no, I'll be honest. We were kind of playing church,
Okay.
doing get in the groove. You get in that little cycle instead of really getting into the heart.
Right.
We wasn't really letting him into our heart. We doing the youth rallies and the church events and the revivals, but really letting him into our lives day by day to really become a disciple, take up our cross daily and follow him. No.
So now
We
you find
picked-
yourself in the hospital
Yeah, I found myself in the
for a long
hospital.
time.
Yeah. Well, it was like a good 10 days or so, something like that. And they wrapped me up like a mummy and sent me home. They put, I don't know if you know what fixators are, but
I do.
Metal. Yeah, just a
If
whole.
anybody would know, he would know.
Yeah, with your legs. We've been done. He can't bumping these jackets. With your heart in, he's gonna get your attention.
I went head first too. So, we have that in common.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you look back and you thank God, they cared enough about to break me, to save me, because he saved me from a more of a cult type attitude towards Christ instead of that relationship. He's my savior. He's the one that leads me day to day. Who's going to lead? I was leading me and playing the religious game.
Right.
Was I really doing that?
You could say he was the way, right?
Yes.
And so, Andy, you were talking about that during Morgan's
Yeah, becoming a king retreat. Yeah.
that they show a scene from the Horse Whisperer where he really breaks this horse.
He does. That horse has been traumatized from a wreck or accident that he survived, but he had become pretty much a useless horse. His spirit was broken, really. But his will was getting in the way of, I don't know if his spirit was broken. His will was getting in the way. He was spooked and he didn't really know how to respond. And he had to take that horse down in what looks like a very inhumane way by tying his legs a certain way. It's a very powerful scene because you got a lot of these guys realizing they're looking at this scene like, that's me. That's me. I'm the horse. He had to take me down. He had to tie my feet in an awkward place to get me to finally get on my knees. And then when you see that horse responds and he's able to bring it back up, and the girls who is hadn't been able to ride it is now then able to ride it, and then you see the joy that it brings and stuff. You're like, man, that is a parallel to our lives.
Right, because when we're spooked, and we all are,
Yeah.
right? We're forced to think about nobody but ourselves. We could care less about the
Survival.
person they want to get on our back.
Yep.
And, right, as
Yep.
the case may be. But thank you, Kenny. That was
Well, I thank God for it. You know, you sometimes.
me too. And it's not one of
Yes,
the stories.
through the pain, we learned that true need.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful because, you know, he's looking at eternity. Well, I was looking at the temporal. Yeah, and like most people playing the game,
Right.
you know.
So sitting next to you is a fellow, I won't say.
My name's Jack.
I am Jack.
Yes, Jack Grant.
Grant Jack.
Grant Jack, okay. And so Grant, you know, you had a similar, you know, experience
Yeah.
in life, right?
Yes, another one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another one. An old convertible Cutlass.
Was it?
Yeah,
That's
a different one.
Okay.
That somebody kidnapped me.
Really?
2 guys. And
How old were you?
18.
Two guys kidnapped you in
Yeah.
a Cutlass convertible.
Yes. And they went out and eventually rolled it. Rolled the Cutlass. But still, they got up, they walked away, they ran away.
And where were you?
In the seat for being set on.
Wow. And
And they had guns in the beginning.
Wow.
so were you injured in that?
Partial. Not bad.
And did they catch these guys?
Yes. Yes.
So how long were you in that trauma? I mean, that you were in this convertible with these guys with guns for how long?
When they first came, when I was sitting in the Cutlass straight up, they had guns pointed at me.
Hmm.
But I actually took the guns away from them.
Thanks.
So where was God in that? I mean, how did he come for you afterwards? Or
Helped me not to get killed by them
clearly.
and the wreck.
True.
And teaching my lesson that do not play with people like that.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, that's a difficult thing. No doubt. No doubt. So sitting next to you is Art. And Art, you know, is all this, you know, what does that bring to your heart, Art?
Well, nothing like falling head first or being in a bad wreck or anything, but there was a big change that has happened recently in my life. Some big changes that God led me to, and Kenny reminded me of that. He showed me a picture of his new dog that he has took in that people weren't able to care for it anymore. It's a Siberian Husky, and he showed me that. He wanted me to see that. That dog's doing him a lot of good, he says, helping him get some exercise and being a companion to him. And it reminded me that I was around working on the farm and had a neighbor with a Siberian Husky that looks just like Kenny's, and she started kind of leaving home and coming and staying with me during the day. And I would catch her and use some twine string or something and tie her, and she would just lay down and hang out with me all day. And the neighbor would come home, they'd come after it. And so I thought, this is kind of cool having this dog come around and stay around with me, and asked them, could I keep it? And they said no. So I tried. That was my first attempt at getting a dog.
Really?
I'd previously, not given that much thought. I didn't really fit on my schedule when I was working, and had some odd hours and overnights and things, and lived in a small townhouse. I never really considered getting a dog before then, but So this dog just came to me and said, having a dog's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. And
You felt your heart come alive, essentially. Going,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is. I can feel this. So today, how many dogs do you have?
I have 2 dogs, and I bred them. I have 3 puppies. So, and they're off. They're going tomorrow to police academy. They're leaving home, going to school. So, at like 5 weeks old. So, but yeah. So I didn't get the Siberian Husky, but I knew a man that breeds and trains German Shepherds, and yeah, that's my dog.
That's your dog.
Puppies, and Kenny's got him on his phone here.
That's precious.
So I called this man, asked him if he had a dog for sale, and he didn't, but he thought he could find me one. And he tried a couple of times and he wasn't able to get those dogs. And then he heard about the one I've got now. There was in Virginia, and people didn't want her, and he went up there and got her for me. And she's been she wasn't treated really well in her previous home, and so she's been a lot of work, but she's well worth it. She's paid me back in many ways, and now I'm so it's been kind of a life change for me. Robbie asked me what this is around my neck just now, and it's actually where I can have a beeper collar on them. I can beep them. It's actually a shock collar, but I don't shock them. I just beep and make the noise, and they come to me.
Himself only.
And what?
Yourself only.
Yeah. Grant's been there. You've seen me beat my dogs, haven't you? They come to me.
Beat. The word is beat with a P. He's not beating his dog. Beat.
That's right. But anyway, it's I've kind of taken on a new identity almost. They seem to know me around town as the man with the black dog. Because I have a dog with me all the time, and it's led to a lot of changes in my life, and it helped me to become better friends with Harold and Jan, because they have a German Shepherd cross, and then which led to me coming here to this radio show. So God has pulled me around through his animals and through.
Right through Mordor in order to get here.
Okay.
So we still got Andy. We got to get to his clip.
Yes.
So Andy,
Yes.
you're batting cleanup, man. Here you
Yeah,
go.
okay, gotcha. So this is from Chronicles of Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I guess. And it's, if you've seen that, Aslan is the Christ figure here, and you'll hear the stone break. When that stone breaks, he had been laying on the stone after they had killed him, and it was a symbol of Christ's crucifixion. And when the stone breaks, he resurrects, and it's a short dialogue just on the impact he has to the children and him laying down his life and then him going after Peter after that. I love that because it shows just the humanity of Jesus. I mean, this is what Aslan is a figure of. And, you know, how as he resurrects, he's laughing and kind of, you know, you see the joy with the kids. And then he goes and he's like, you better cover your ears. And you see that lion and he's getting ready to go do some business. But my statements were, I am the resurrection and the life. And then I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And kind of like Danny, it's just, life is tied up into both of those. Life is so important, and that's essentially what we want. And I took this from that John 14:6, right before Jesus goes into that, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He says, you know, he's talking about going away and preparing a place, and then when he says, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I am coming again, and I will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you also will be. And you know the way where I'm going. At least disciples were pretty dense, and they didn't act like they really knew where he was going.
Well, I like that. You know, I personally love Thomas,
Yeah,
who stood up and said, "Where are you going?"
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
after he just told them.
That's a
that,
great question, though,
Yeah,
because if you read the passage,
yeah,
you'd be going, "Where are you going?"
right, exactly. But I think Jesus, what his point was, is you may not know in your mind, but your spirit knows where you're going. And that is that whole resurrection and the life of where he's taking us. He's a guide that's guiding us where we're clueless, but he's not he's not clueless. He knows exactly where we're going. So I really like that, you know, just that scripture. I was just trying to read it deeper and see something I hadn't seen before. And I saw that this week and I thought, you know, that's really, I've read that before, but never really pulled out the fact that, you know, Jesus said, whether you believe it or not, you know where you're going. So the way,
And I love the
way.
idea that something has to die
right?
in order to truly
Yeah.
live.
Unless the corn of wheat dies and falls and
So
dies.
where
in
did
the ground.
Andy die?
I mean, you know, I don't like to share the same story over. A lot of it had to do probably, there's a variety of times that I've died. I guess the last one would be just an effect of broken relationships. And then when I really begin on a journey of discovery of not only finding God and who he was, but also finding out about myself. But, you know, going really to it. John 10:10 says he comes, we might have life and have it more abundantly. That's the life we're talking about here. I used to look at that as what I could get out of life, but it's really just finding him. So
Yeah, it's interesting too how a relationship breaks, but then it comes to life again after it dies.
right. Yeah,
And I've seen that, you know, in so many ways with you and me.
Yeah,
So, very
absolutely.
cool. Well, again, masculinejourneyradio.org. Got Advanced Boot Camp coming up. Go register.
We can get Terry in.